Did you know that every word you speak matters? Are your conversations making a difference? With a passion for words and a heart for conversation, Teresa Velardi is a self-professed word nerd, best-selling author, BizCat 360 columnist, and publisher. Children's books as well as fiction and nonfiction books are welcomed at We Be Books Publishing and Book Endeavors, the imprints of her company, Authentic Endeavors Publishing. Whether written or spoken, Teresa strives to encourage and inspire meaningful conversations that make a difference. Here's the host of Conversations That Make a Difference, Teresa Velardi.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Conversations That Make a Difference. I'm excited to bring you another great show today with our incredible guests who are all authors in the newly released book, Wellness G.P.S. Get Prepared for Success with All Things Wellness. This is the third book in a series, but before we get started talking to our guests, let's just tell you that Conversations That Make a Difference is airing live Tuesday, the first and third Tuesday of the month at 5 p.m. Eastern, and you can listen to replays every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. the show airs. So if you have YouTube or you have Alexa, you can find me on Envision 7 Radio Network. We usually start with a prayer, and I start with the Serenity Prayer. So if you would join me, please. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I would like to say that it is by God's grace that we are fabulous, blessed, and highly favored, living in our greatness with passion and purpose, using our gifts and talents, making a difference in the lives of others. And all of God's great universe is conspiring in our favor. And we gratefully say amen. So let me get started with all these smiling faces. I want to make some introductions here. So we have Lori Walker. She is an Usui Reiki Master, a Holy Fire Reiki Master, and a contributing author to multiple books, including All Things Wellness, 2 books in the series, Mayhem to Miracles, A Daily Gift of Gratitude, and you are also a notary in the state of Pennsylvania. We welcome you, Lori. Thanks for coming. Dr. Keith McNally, the man who dares to come into this conversation with all the women. Yes. You specialize in facilitating discussions by bringing like-minded people together to create a real impact. You have launched 3 podcasts in the last 2 years. The Question Guy podcast, the Coach's Corner, and the Envision Speakers Series. Question Guy podcast addresses people's personal stories. Coach's Corner is one-to-one conversation regarding your guest's professional expertise. And the Envision Speaker Series brings a group of subject matter experts together at a table to propose solutions to problems currently impacting our world. Oh, I'd like to be a fly on the wall for those conversations. Yes. Keith is also the author of Walking the Path, A Leader's Journey, a leadership book focusing on personal development. And Dr. K is on a mission to eradicate the negative impact of suicide by providing hope, help, and healing. And you can help Dr. Keith with his mission by supporting his thru-hike of the Appalachian Trail in 2025. I know people who have done that, and they said their life was changed incredibly. So I wish you well on that. Ida Nalbandian is a former university lecturer, and she taught philology, linguistics, and comparative literature. She's an author of multiple books, including, I love this title, Does God Have a Bicycle? And Jacob's Magic Vegetables, which I have a copy of right here because I had the honor of publishing this book, the children's book. And how loving, the title of it is Jacob's Magic Vegetables, How Loving Kindness Grows. And in addition, she's contributed to A Daily Gift of Hope, a collection of stories from hopeful hearts around the globe. And there's another book called Portals, Energetic Doorways to Mystical Experience Between Worlds with Freddie Silver. Ida and her family founded the VSCF Vahagan Setian Charitable Foundation in memory of her late son, whose life was tragically cut short by a drunk driver. Ida honors the foundation's mission of promoting self-awareness, attentive choices, and the expansion of the greater good. And welcome, Ida. I'm so glad you could make it today.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. And Eileen Bild is no stranger to conversations that make a difference. She's the CEO and executive producer of Hotel Productions, a Roku channel developer, and talk show host for Hotel Talk. She is an author and internationally syndicated columnist for Biz Catalyst 360, Life Coaching Magazine, Women's Voice Magazine, and NSAEN. She's also a breakthrough spark coach. Welcome, Eileen.
Thank you.
It's so good to see you guys. I have to tell you, first of all, let me just tell our listeners about the series. The first book in this 3-book series was The Fourfold Formula for All Things Wellness. And some of you wrote in that book. And then Win the Wellness War, We Are Responsible for All Things Wellness. And now today we celebrate the third in this and final book in this series, where all of you have contributed something, a story or two or whatever, into this book, which right now, as at the airing of this show, is number 16 in one of the categories on Amazon and number 96 in another category. Books at the top 100 are considered to be bestsellers. So my congratulations to all of you. You are a best-selling author once again. And let's talk about some of your stories. First, I'm going to go to Eileen and Dr. Keith collectively, because this was a joint effort. And the title of the story is A Moment in Time When I Chose to End My Life. Okay. Who wants to start?
Eileen does.
Oh, cool. I knew you were going to say that.
Okay, so here, let me just set this up for the listeners. Eileen interviewed Dr. Keith about a stressful time in his life, and this story is that interview, and I've read through it, and I highly recommend this. You know, when life throws you lots of curveballs, sometimes it's very difficult to catch them all, and we kind of have to go to our knees. So Eileen, why don't you start with this? Tell me how this came about, number one.
Okay. So I met Keith through a mutual friend, and as I've spent time with him and I've been on his talk shows, I realized that, you know, there's something special about him. But he has this story that I interviewed him about that I felt needed to be shared, because he's a good example of, no matter how dark the days can become and how much we can bottom out, there is a way up and out. And Keith is a really good example of that. So I wanted to have the opportunity to interview him so he could share his story through his voice, with the inspiration that he does give to people, to say that there's hope. And if through his story it helps somebody else, then we've done good. And so Keith was really at you know, one of life's like worst moments that someone could be, and he saw no way out in the moment. But then something happened, and I'll let him share with you, that allowed him to take one step at a time, and then he's where he is today, and getting ready to take that hike next year.
It's awesome. And so this starts out like during the time of COVID and the loss of a job, and I'll let you tell it, because I'm saying that because a lot of people were in the same place that you are, and many of them probably did not make it out of their situations because of what was going on in the world. So tell your story, Dr. Keith.
Well, first, thank you both. Eileen, thank you for suggesting that I be a part of this conversation and the story that we're having right here. Yeah, COVID and the quarantine kind of hit us all, like you said, another curveball in life, right? And So sometimes I look back at that situation and felt and really consider maybe I was weak. I had lost a job. I was struggling financially, emotionally. Everything about that situation is bad, was bad, will always be bad in history. And for me, being a U.S. Marine veteran who has just struggled with suicide ideation and post-traumatic stress for many, many years, when I'm thrown a curveball, I don't necessarily have the resources internally, externally to deal with it in the right way. So my go-to knee-jerk response is end it all. Um, I typically choose suffocation, but for each his own. That seems to be a way out for me. But Eileen is hinting to the fact that this very moment exists for me because I recognized the need for change. And for that to occur, I did something that is so contrast to who I am or who I was. And then as I was reaching out to people on my LinkedIn connection list, just to have a conversation, to find out what everybody else in the world was doing with their life. And it was through those conversations that I found the hope and the healing necessary to sit here in front of you today, because I started living vicariously through all of those transformation victory stories that I was given. And I found hope in those stories, and I began to change internally and then make those changes externally, learning to breathe, breathe right, learning to focus, learning to meditate, learning to be thankful, all of those things that, we take for granted, I can no longer take for granted. So I became a new person because of it.
Wow, interesting. And so now you can use your journey through that time to support people in whatever they have coming up in their lives, similar to the circumstances that you may have faced or other things. Your show, one of your shows, brings a group of subject matter experts together at the table to propose solutions to problems currently impacting our world. The problems are going to go on. How we handle them is going to change the way we get through them, correct?
Correct. And so that's the Envision Speakers Series. Yes.
Yes, yes, I love that. Oh man, I really need to tune into what you're doing too, because you're talking my language. And one thing that you said, it was having the hope. And we had several of these ladies, actually all of them, I think, wrote in Daily Gift of Hope. It's a book in one of the series, and the series that I put together with a variety of authors around the globe, to talk about things like gratitude and hope. And I'm going to ask you a question, yes or no. Do you think gratitude takes away a lot of the sting of life's challenges?
You have to lean into that. So for yes or no, yes, but you have to lean into it, because if you're not there, and I was not there for many, many years, only recently am I kind of bringing myself to understand how really important that is.
Yeah, gratitude is huge. That's my favorite topic to talk about. When you find something to be grateful for, when you're in a mess, when you're stuck in the mud and you can find something to be grateful for, I believe the light starts to shine and you can make it your way out of it, regardless of how deep you are. That's my opinion.
That's a
And I
good
think
opinion
you
to
might
have.
agree with that. Lori Walker, how are you? We'll come back to you. We're going to come back. Lori Walker, it's so good to have you here. I read your story and I was I was in awe of how this story unfolded. Can you want to talk a little bit about a zebra can't change its stripes? How does that compare to a leopard can't change its spots?
Well, I cover that in the last paragraph. So,
Yes, you do.
yeah, so it's the story is about my brother. It's about the day that he passed. And so I start out that I'm on my way to the hospital, and then I kind of do a flashback and lead up to that moment again. So, and just for you to say, with your experience, thank you for saying that you like the way that it unfolded. I really.
Yeah. Well, you know, I wrote a story about my mother's passing in one of the books that you were in, Mayhem to Miracles. And it's strange things happen when people move from one realm to another. And I just found that the way that this whole thing unfolded and the joy that came from your family being together at that time, whether they were in the room or not, I believe that helps people along when they go to the other side. I do. But I don't know. I've never been to the other side. Haven't been there yet. But I watched my mother transition, and you had something. The way that you wrote the story, yes, it was flashback, and yes, there was you know, a lot of people there, and at the same time, do you want to talk about the end of the story with the window?
I can. First, I wanted to say, my brother was a heroin addict, and he had a drinking problem, and that's what led up to this situation. So there was a lot of back and forth. I mean, he had done some things that he wasn't proud of. You know, there were some problems in our family, but I wanted to show the story, like both sides, the compassion that you still love this person no matter what they do.
Yes.
They're doing, and you really want to help them, but at the same time, they have to figure it out for themselves. You know, so about the window. So you want me to talk about the window?
The window. I mean, I was like, oh, that was just so wild for me. Because yeah, I had some things happen that were similar. So go ahead.
Okay. I also say in my story that my mom is a very devout United Methodist Church member, and without giving too much of the story away, because I want you to read it, we were all in the room. He was in hospice care, so we all knew it was the end. And there were 9 of us in the same room, and somebody had said something, and I just kind of lost it. So I needed to go and compose myself. And then more people started coming out to the waiting room and part of the story. But the only 2 people that were left in the room were my father and my brother-in-law. And I talked 3 times about the rain that night. And so later on, after the funeral and everything, my dad talked about it, and he didn't want to talk about it at first because he thought, you know, maybe people wouldn't believe him. But he said that he and my brother-in-law were there, and all of a sudden the wind started picking up, and this window was latched with metal latches. So it wasn't like it was flimsy, there were metal latches, and the wind is picking up, and all of a sudden a huge burst just burst them wide open. And my dad and my brother would look at each other like, what? That is really weird. And they didn't really think too much of it. You know, my dad just got up and relatched the door. And then a few minutes later, the nurse came in to check my brother's vitals, and he had passed. So coincidence?
That's what I'd say. I don't think it's coincidence. I would say that is, in a couple of words, going out with a bang.
Oh, absolutely. And I talked about my maternal grandmother in the story, and I mentioned that I believe it was her coming to help my brother's soul go home. That is just really, really great comfort. So I did not witness the window, but I absolutely believe my father. Why would he?
Yeah.
And it just gave so much comfort to our family.
Yeah. Well, I give you kudos, and Dr. Keith too, and Ada for bringing your stories to the book, because a lot of people go through things that we're all going to lose somebody. We're going to all have challenges in life. And the fact that you're bringing them to light in these books, you know, people think wellness is just about the body, and it's not just about the body. It's the body, mind, heart, spirit. And it's putting it all together and going through the circumstances and situations, and if you've gotten through them, and it's really challenging to lose a sibling. Thank you, Jesus, I haven't lost a sibling yet, but I've lost both my parents. And it's death is hard, especially if you don't have a spiritual grounding. So, and Ida, I'm going to go to you. You experienced the death of your son, where your foundation came alive, and something good came out of that for you. But this story, you talk about a co-worker who got bitten by a spider. Now, Miss Eileen over there had a similar circumstance. She got bit by a spider too, and she had a lot of things happen to her. But you were really supportive to this young man. You want to talk a little bit about what you wrote and why you wrote it before we go to break?
Certainly. What struck me in this situation, I learned to see it this way. When pain and unwanted shows up in our lives, we consider, like, I can compare with plants that we pull them out and say, we don't need this, but I like the roses, I'll take away the other one. But life works in different way when life gives all the plants, and what do we make out of it? And one of the examples I see, like dandelion, it's considered not a wanted plant, but it's a #1 healer of the liver and all that is out there. But it's considered not a favorable plant. And we just pull it out and throw it away. So whoever figured out how to use the dandelion was the genius in my book. So
Yes.
this is a similar situation when unwanted showed up. And what did this young man do with that? And how he shifted his whole life. It was so inspiring and so heartwarming. What more struck me, how it affected others next to him. When we find our way, like Keith was talking about, he found his way, it happens with the mind first, because body cannot find it. Nothing can find it unless mind can see the way, right? So when mind saw the way, and then everything else follows, this body and everything else, then we become that light bulb, I think, that starts lighting up the room, and everybody feels they can see their way as well. So that's how I felt with him, that he became a light for others to see their way, because he was not on TV, not on YouTube. He wasn't a celebrity. He was just a regular person next to them, and everybody saw that it's accessible to everyone.
Right. Yeah. Well, and you are all light. Every one of you, all of us, we are all light. And it's about how bright do we shine? And we get a chance to make that decision and make a difference in the lives of others. And with that, we're going to go to break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. We'll be right back with more conversations that make a difference.
With the hustle and bustle of today's world, how often do you take time to practice gratitude? More importantly, how can you make it a habit? The Grateful Hearts community is a group of like-minded people focusing on what's going right and being grateful. Gratitude is more than putting a smile on your face and being thankful for the roof over your head. It's about expanding your perception and finding ways to find gratitude for, in, and through the challenges we face every day. Gratitude is a feeling of connection to things higher than yourself, to God, and to others. We focus on light, positivity, and connections. You make a difference. When we join our grateful hearts together, the power of community attracts more people and even more to be grateful for. Expressing gratitude and feeling grateful is infectious, so let's share it. Join our Grateful Hearts community and watch your blessings blossom. Learn more at gratefulheartscommunity.com and join the community at facebook.com/The Grateful Hearts Community.
Are you one of the many people who said, "Someday I'll write a book," but don't know how to get started? Many wannabe authors have begun with the same question and are now published by Authentic Endeavors Publishing, a multi-imprint hybrid publishing company. Whether you're writing an autobiography, a memoir, a kingdom book, a children's book, a business book, or an anthology, we have a place for you. Visit www.AuthenticEndeavorsPublishing.com for more information or to set up a 20-minute consultation. Your title of published author is within reach.
Born Able exists to highlight and normalize the humanity, worth, and abilities of infants and children born with complex medical conditions. We write, illustrate, and publish books for these children and have featured over 1,000 children throughout the world. Our videos and posts have been viewed over 100 million times on social media as we strive to showcase these amazingly abled kids and fight relentlessly for equal medical care, regardless of diagnosis. All proceeds from Born Able books go directly to the Born Able Foundation. To nominate a special kid to be featured in a Born Able book, go to www.bornable.org to learn more.
Did you know that every word you speak matters? What you say and how you say it can make or break a relationship or shift the outcome of any situation. Are your conversations making a difference? Faith in God, gratitude, authenticity, and giving are Teresa Velardi's heart. It's in this spirit that she's focused on making a difference in the lives she's blessed to touch. Conversations That Make a Difference is now on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, with live call-in shows every first and third Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we're back, and we're talking to some of the authors from Wellness G.P.S, Get Prepared for Success. So, Eileen, what does all things wellness mean to you?
Great question. I think it's a balance of life, but also with the mind, body, spirit. So as it was said earlier, I think I just said it, that, nothing happens until we have a thought, and then the body responds to that. And thinking is very powerful. So in Keith's case, his thinking overshadowed like logic. Because really, taking his life would not have solved the issue. The issue is still there. And so he, part of him, probably his spiritual side, was like, no, not your time to go. We have more work to do, which he's proven because he stood up basically and said, okay, I got this. And he created opportunities for others because of what he's been through. And at the same time, he's learning and growing and expanding and becoming a better version of himself. So he didn't allow that part of him that didn't encompass wellness. And instead, he went full force or full steam into going into full wellness. And now he's training for his walk. And I don't think he'll ever go backwards, back to that, because once you open the door to the mind, body, spirit, balance, and wellness, you want to live, you want to thrive, you want to be in that positive side of life. And Keith is a perfect example. And Keith, I'd be curious, what was that turning point for you that you said, okay, I'm going to go this way and get out of where you were?
Great question.
It is a great question, and I get asked that question a lot. And my only response is to ask another question because I need clarification. But this goes out to Teresa. I need to make a shout out because there's one man on the earth who's kept me alive. It was only because of my conversations with him that I sit here before you today. So I kind of do a shout out.
Sure.
His name is Mitch Gray. And so I always mention him because he poured his life into me when I was at my worst. And so, again, one of those things where LinkedIn was the kind of the catalyst for it all. We connected, we had a conversation, and everything that he was like a pastor or a coach and, all kind of cool stuff. I wanted to be. And so it was his just desire to keep me alive and then to teach me all the fundamentals. And then through all the other conversations after that, my conversations with Eileen and everybody else. And so I've had over 1,000, in the past 3 years, probably more than that, given all the conversations and podcasts that I host. Like I said, it's the continual journey of gaining appreciation for who I am. And so everything that I've acquired hasn't been materialistic. I still live in the same house. I could have lost it easily. I still drive the same car. Almost 10 years old now. Everything that I've gained has allowed me to center, to breathe, to focus. I'm now practicing things like meditation and mindfulness and manifestation stuff. And so my life has literally been transformed. And I continue to, hopefully, like I say, provide that transformational catalyst for others.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's beautiful. And so writing, was it part of your world before this, or somebody said, this is a really good story, you need to write this down, Keith? How did the writing at all come about for you?
So are we referring to my contribution to your book or to my own book? Because when I was creating the Question Guy podcast back in 2022, given all the conversations that I was having, I was actually creating the book. The book was part of my healing journey. It was me and all of the characters within. So it's a leadership book under, personal development, but it's really about a person, a young man who learns to find himself. And my subconscious takes on all the different characters of the book, the misfit, the leader, the cheerleader, the outcast, and all those other characters are really part of me. And Eileen mentioned that I'm going to do this weird thing, this thru-hike of the Appalachian Trail, and I do train daily for that. But I found that that's really innately me now. It's that getting up and quite literally, I hike 12, 13, up to 18 miles a day, depending on which day of the week it is.
Wow.
And it's the most natural thing in the world for me to go out and do that time. It hurts my feet, but it centers my body. It centers my mind, body, and soul in a way that I've never thought possible.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Scholes can handle your feet for you. Oh my goodness, your story is awesome. And I'm sure that your book is called Walking the Path, A Leader's Journey. So, and if people, just to curiosity, I want to give you a chance to, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Okay.
Dr. Keith McNally on LinkedIn. Absolutely. It's my platform at this point. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. And you do have a website, drkeithmcnally.com too. People can learn more about you there. So Lori Walker, you have written in several books. You have written in compilation books. You have, I know you've written a couple of cookbooks. You put together a couple of cookbooks, or maybe 3. What is it that you find in writing and sharing things like this? For me, what I saw in your story was catharsis. It was a very cathartic kind of thing. Do you write all the time because of that, getting that sensation of having gotten some release or some healing from the process?
In order to answer that question, I want to go back to Mayhem to Miracles, which of course I have read.
Okay.
And that's how I met you and Eileen.
Yes.
Book. And real quick before I answer the question, I want to talk about how the relationships that you build and the people that you meet. Whenever I did some interviews for Mayhem to Miracles, Laura Gray was one of the authors, and she lives in Cleveland. And I actually drove to Cleveland and met her and Marielle and Lucas. We had lunch together. So I just, want to talk about the relationships and the people that you meet and the blessings that you get from them. But the reason that I wrote my first story was called Mary Queen, and it was a tribute to my best friend who, like Dr. Keith, I had a moment where I didn't want to live anymore, and this woman helped me. She was my mentor, and you spoke about the gentleman who helped you. Mary was my guardian angel, and she saved me twice. And I wrote the story because I thought nobody is ever going to know what she did for me. Mm-hmm. And I wrote poetry when I was young, but I never really, I didn't write any stories or anything. And I saw a call for stories from an editor for this book. And I wonder if I can write this down for everybody, And then when I submitted it, it was accepted within 24 hours, and it just blew me away. So that was my first catharsis. So whenever I wrote this, and I didn't think I was going to have anything else to write about, after that. Well, my second story was called There's Something About Mary, and that was in the first book of the
All Things Wellness series. Yeah. The fourfold formula.
And so it was the sequel. It was what happened after, and that was a lot of fun to write. That was, the stories of us having fun and me kind of finding myself again. So there was healing in that as well. And I didn't think I was going to have another story, but I always wanted to write the story of my brother. And I wrote it it seems that I write best when I write about or for other people. And I wrote it, I don't want to get upset. I wrote it for my nieces and nephews and the people in my family that weren't there. I wrote it for Joe's daughters and granddaughters and great-granddaughters so that they would know that even though that he was loved. I'm going back to that dichotomy of you're upset with people who use drugs and the things that they do and the love that you still feel for them. So I wanted them to know that he was loved
yeah. And your story comes across like that, regardless of what maladies we may have or what mistakes we may make, people, we are lovable, and sharing that love in the stories that you write is a great tribute to your brother and a great way to carry his legacy on to his children and his grandchildren and whoever else may come afterward. They'll get to know him through what you've written. So that's great. Thank you, Lori. And you are best reached how?
Oh, I'm not a coach. No, I'm not any of that. I just am a regular person. So it's on Facebook, Lori J. Walker on Facebook. But I do have some exciting things coming up. Is that a friend of mine, she's a former client, she has a website called the Author Zone. And what they do is they have yearly award ceremonies. So you submit the book, and in November there will be another one. This is the 10-year anniversary. Mm-hmm. So you can check out her website, theauthorzone.com. And also, I was a blogger for All Things Wellness. So my blog is still on Peggy's website, allthingswellness.com. You can go over to blogs, guest bloggers, and my name's still there.
And find your work there. Great, thank you. Ida, you and I met because you had this, and this actually was written during COVID as well. Jacob's Magic Vegetable: How Loving Kindness Grows. And this is a little miracle story. And your story here is a little miracle story as well in the book. You, I know, are a very spiritual person. And so my question to you is, why do you write these stories? Like what draws you to the pen and paper or the computer and a Word document to share your experience and the stories that come to you through your life?
You certainly nailed it. I am attracted to miracles, and they are everywhere next to us. And when I see them, I start writing about them, and I have more coming. What attracts me in miracles, that they are real, and they are everyday happenings. They are not like, oh, maybe this will happen, maybe. And miracles happen when we allow that energy to manifest through us and to find a way. It's just everywhere. And I am fascinated by them. That's why I take note of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard somebody say one time, a miracle is a shift in perspective and perception. So I think the way that we look at things, like Eileen surviving the spider bite that she got, your friend surviving the spider bite that he got, and the things that happen in our lives, sometimes they happen because whoever the person is who has received the miracle needs to go through whatever it is, maybe to slow down, to pay attention, to trust God, to find a new path, to recognize that, everything can be okay if you choose to look at it that way, right?
Like a sign to change the freeway.
Mm-hmm.
You just go to another freeway and you go, oh, okay, everything is fine here.
Yeah. Talk just a little bit about your foundation and how people can learn a little bit about that. Tell me what you do and why you do it.
So we founded this foundation in the memory of our late son, who was killed by a drunk driver at the age of 16. And he was just a passenger in a car. What came out of the whole story was how all his friends and community and everybody who were connected to the story, they all had the shift of doing things better. Many of his friends, and he had so many of them, just to say, when we had his 16th birthday and I said, we're going to have a celebration. And he said, no. I said, well, what do you mean? No, we can't have a celebration of your birthday. He said, there's so many friends, they won't fit. Everybody cannot fit. And I don't want to pick and choose, invite some and not invite the others. So I had like little arm wrestling with him. Okay, can we just have a little dinner with family? So that's how many friends he made throughout his short life. And then when the tragedy struck, all those souls that he connected to, they came back to bring, besides support, besides love, they carried us in their arms while we couldn't walk and we couldn't talk.
Mm-hmm.
That was another miracle. And I can't, even though I love writing, I love words, I love sentences, but not everything can be put in words. Mm-hmm. And that was something that we all got united in pain, and we all got an understanding of how you can reach out to the other person and how you can comfort each other in a magnanimous pain. So fast forward, the whole thing was, the foundation was formed and we started our work, and foundation was actually suggested by his friends, like, let's start a foundation. Mm-hmm. And we started a foundation, and we did outreach for youth and everybody who can benefit. What we attempt to do is awaken that choice that exists in each and every one of us. It's like a phone call to the mind to say, you have an ability to make a better choice. Make a better choice. You just need to choose that choice. The choice is not going to come by itself. It's your choice that counts for you and for everybody else. And that's what our foundation does. We received numerous letters from beneficiaries of children and youth, everybody who goes to assemblies where my late son's father speaks, and he speaks from his heart. He tries to reach out to everybody. We don't want anybody else to walk in our shoes. If we can help, we help. So what they say in their letters, they thank us, of course, for the work. They ask not to keep their name anonymous, but story can be shared. And many of them say, I made a choice because I made a better choice because I heard about your story.
That's
And
awesome.
that's just helps us. That's the fuel for our engine to know that people are benefiting, finding a better way.
Mhm.
And what is mindfulness? Mindfulness means I make the choice, not my body, not my habits, not my circumstances. I actually look at it and say, okay, what is my choice right now? Who is it going to affect? How am I going to affect everybody next to me? And that's the foundation's work. We are very humbled by the support we get. And a foundation can be reached at www. We have an Instagram as well. The Instagram is active. I put my daily quotes there to support awareness as much as we can in every avenue. And the Instagram is V as Victor, A, H as Hog, A, G as God, N as Nancy, Foundation, Vahagan Foundation at the Instagram. And the website is vahaganfoundation.org.
Thank you. Your stories make a difference. And with that, we're going to a break.
Do you have an uplifting personal story to share? The Daily Gift Book Series began with a daily gift of gratitude and a daily gift of hope, both available on Amazon. We're looking for people like you to share a story in our continuing series. Kindness, peace, inspiration, and generosity are just a few of the upcoming topics in the Daily Gift Book Series. Your stories matter, and they make a difference. Visit www.dailygiftbookseries.com to find out more on how to submit your story for one of the upcoming titles.
Do you have a personal story of hope or kindness to share? The Daily Gift Book Series, which began with a daily gift of gratitude, now available on Amazon, continues with a daily gift of hope and a daily gift of kindness. And we're looking for people just like you to share a story. Your daily gift of hope story might answer one of these questions. Is there a time when you felt hopeless and someone stepped in to change your view? Have you been an example of hope for someone else? Is hope something that you've always had? If so, how do you keep that hope alive? With hope, we have more energy and a purpose. It gets us out of bed in the morning. Daily Gift of Kindness might be your chance to talk about recognizing and spreading kindness to change the world. Practicing kindness lifts your spirit and your mood, warms your heart, and helps to navigate your way through today's challenges. Has an act of kindness from a stranger turned your day around? Have you ever paid it forward to someone or for someone? Your story matters, so visit dailygiftbookseries.com to find out more about how to submit your story for a daily gift of hope and a daily gift of kindness. Your stories make a difference.
With the hustle and bustle of today's world, how often do you practice gratitude? How can you make it a habit? Gratitude is more than putting a smile on your face and being thankful for the roof over your head. It's expanding your perception and finding gratitude for every opportunity and every challenge. Gratitude is a feeling of connection to things higher than yourself, to God, and to others. We focus on light, positivity, and connections. When we join our grateful hearts together, the power of community attracts more people and even more to be grateful for while making a difference. A grateful heart is infectious. Share it. Join our Grateful Hearts community on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/The Grateful Hearts Community and watch your blessings blossom.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we're back for the last segment. This time flies by when we get together. I just want to say that, what we were just talking about and how, our thoughts, our mind, our decisions make a difference in the lives of others. And not just in our own life. We change lives through the way that we choose to live ours and how we share it. So this is the importance of stories. When I was first asked to write some of my story, my past, I was like, oh my God, what if somebody I know reads it? especially the person who was the, for lack of a better phrase, perpetrator, you know? So I'm like, what if they find out? Oh, P.S. the person doesn't like to read, so they will never find out. And if they do, so be it. Maybe their lives will change, you know, because of that. I think that a lot of people don't recognize or don't realize how they actually be in the eyes of other people. Do any of you find that true? Like, people just don't know who they are, and this journey of writing and telling stories really helps us to become who we were created to be. And that's the reason why I do these little books, these Daily Gift of Hope, Daily Gift of Gratitude. By the way, each of you is invited to write something in the next one, which is a Daily Gift of Kindness. So we're going to be putting that one out in November around Thanksgiving, because I think the 13th of November is World Kindness Day, and we'd like to have it out by then. So anybody who's looking to share a story, just go to dailygiftbookseries.com, and you can become part of that book there. So question for you, Eileen, what was your biggest takeaway in doing this story with Dr. Keith?
How powerful our story is for us to heal.
Yeah.
So all of us have healed in some way, shape, or form in the stories that we tell.
Yeah.
And I think Keith could probably support what I'm going to say, that the interview I did with him, the questions I asked, allowed him to continue to do the healing, but also to recognize how far he's come. And that it allowed him to do some introspection, I believe, and to feel good about where he is in his life, regardless of where he was back then. And sometimes, you know, we continue to have curveballs that come into our life. But I think Keith is in a better place to manage the curveballs now, so that he won't slip back, and instead he actually becomes stronger. So, you know, I tried to come up with questions that were kind of a deep dive for him to recognize how strong he really is, you know, give himself credit for what he's done, and that, yes, he had help from his friend, but really, Keith, it was you who did the work, and it was you who got yourself from point A to point B, and it's you who's going to do the hike. And that we all should, you know, honor that part of ourselves that overcomes tragedy, that overcomes trauma, because it's not easy. I mean, you know, a lot of people don't make it as far as we all have made it through our trials and tribulations.
So from the standpoint of the interviewer, when you were talking with Keith and you were writing and you were putting this story together, how did it affect you, and did it bring it back? Did it bring you back to parts of your life and parts of your journey through your challenges?
Good question. I think whenever I do any kind of interview, whether it's written or like what we're doing today, I do find myself referencing, you know, my own healing and my own life journey, because we are all human, right? And there's all kinds of similarities we have. We just experience life in a unique way. So in the case of Keith, I think what I can't recall exactly, but I can say the similarity of Keith having been at the bottom, and the only way out was up and out. And in order to do that, change had to occur. So I've been through that same, I'm at rock bottom, and something had to change if I was going to get out, and I was going to get back to life and living again.
Yeah. I think we all go through that. So Keith, based on what you just said, what was one of your biggest takeaways through the experience of having the interview with Eileen and then ultimately having it published in this book? What's your biggest takeaway?
First, thank you. I have to say that there's a bunch of gratitude here, and I am very thankful for the opportunity. Eileen, there were times that I hid in the closet and cried. And so part of what you forced me to do is revisit that part of my life, which was very, very traumatic in a good way. Because if you were to say, yeah, that was a real experience in my life. And now here I am sharing the story, being able to reflect, being able to grow, and then hopefully help others heal. Then Eileen did a good job.
Yeah. And you did a good job too. Yeah.
I have a lot of support here. So y'all say I did the work. There are so many people holding me up at times. I'm very thankful.
Yeah, good thing you said that, because you know what? We think that we do it all. Some people think they do it all themselves, but God didn't put us on this planet just to be on the planet alone. We're not supposed to journey through this ourselves. We are supposed to have people with us, some who will support us, some who will challenge us, some who will bring us to our knees. Life is not meant to be done alone. Good, bad, or otherwise. We are to do this together. So Lori, what's your biggest takeaway real quick?
This is the 10-year anniversary of my brother's passing, so it was significant that I write this story now. So, yeah. And I want to do something super quick. Okay, we're talking all things wellness, and I have 2 journals that I wanted to show, All Things Wellness Journal and Ms. Teresa, Becoming Who You Were Created to Be.
Yeah.
Which you had gifted to me. So
yes.
There are other resources out there too. There are other books, there's other Peggy Boom stuff. So I'm grateful to you and Peggy and Eileen and all the media partners who have helped me along the way on my journey.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for that, Lori. Thank you. Yeah. And the journals, writing for me is my thing. I never really thought it was going to be, but then when my life was in the crapper, so to speak, I didn't want to talk about it because I was unable to. I wrote it down. And I've started writing every day. And now that is something that I do on a regular basis. And from that came the journal. Those are my hands on there, by the way. For those of you who don't know, I'm a potter. So, but yeah, so writing changes a lot of things. What was your biggest takeaway from this experience, Ida? I know that you love to, we're like sisters from another mister, this one over here.
For sure. And before anything, I want to thank you again and Peggy for opportunity to express our voice and so others can benefit from the story. That's already a gift itself. What my takeaway was, who can benefit from this, but you are the one who, and Peggy, who gave the stage where this can be seen and heard so others can benefit. I thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. For those of you who are listening, your stories are powerful. They matter. They can change your life. You can change your life by getting it out of yourself. Sometimes we need to get out of our own way and just put the pen to the paper and do what we need to do in order to be able to get through any given circumstance. And sometimes writing the story will change someone else's life. And that's the reason why we share them. So the series, All Things Wellness, Fourfold Formula, Win the Wellness War, We Are Responsible, and Wellness G.P.S, Get Prepared for Success, is a very powerful, life-changing experience. I'm not just going to even call them books. I'm going to call them experiences, because we walk the path that a lot of these authors have walked and can take away something from it that may lead us to a solution or a better life. And with that being said, I want to thank all of my guests today for being here with me on another conversation that makes a difference. And it is my hope that this conversation has made a difference for you, and that every conversation you have with people will make a difference for yourself and those who you're talking to. We'll see you the next time. Have a great day. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Do you?
Tune in next time for Conversations That Make a Difference with host Teresa Velardi every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern, with live call-in shows every first and third Tuesday on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network. Thank you for listening, and thank you to our producer Rachel and to our station owner Deborah Beauvais, working behind the scenes. Be sure to go to conversationsthatmakeadifference.com for your free gift. Make sure your conversations make a difference.